We're the Good Doctors.
We're the Good Doctors, and we're live talking about the Oscars. Good morning,
Good morning, everybody. We changed our topic literally this morning. We were like, you know what? We've got to talk about the Oscars.
And we know we're a little bit delayed rather than usual because we had actually our closing presentation from our incredible Community Research Institute interns. And when we say incredible, like, I know I'm a hyperbolic person, but
that's not even accurate. Like, I don't even have an adjective to describe how fantastic these humans are. I don't.
I have some real skepticism about Gen Z. I have some real fears about some of the cultural stuff they've been given and how they're going to enter it. I have zero fears about these 5 young women that we work with.
No, zero fears. They will change the world, and I am privileged to know them.
Oh, they already have?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here plotting ways to make sure that they never, ever leave my life. So sorry to be creepy.
We're keeping them forever.
Keeping them forever. Saws.
So we're a little bit late this morning, but we had very good reasons for it. We know you guys were all sitting at your computers at 11 going, where are the Good Doctors?
Where are the Good Doctors? We're so sorry. Hopefully you can forgive us, because you know what we actually would like to get rid of instead of keep forever is last night's Oscar ceremony.
Y'all, I mean, I don't even know. Like, we could start with the ceremony, because I thought
let's start with the show, the thing as a show.
The show, and then we'll get into the content. If you have thoughts and feelings about last night, please comment, ask questions. If you want to hear us rant about anything in particular, but we'll be ranting about a lot of things. So make sure and join in the chats and let us know what you guys thought of the show. But the show itself, I thought the Emmys did a good job doing the virtual weirdness. It was last September. We were all in a different place.
I mean, the Grammys are the gold standard for me.
Okay, I didn't watch any of the Grammys.
So the Grammys were great because they did pre-recorded performances.
Yeah.
So they allowed, which I loved in the Oscars pre-show, you got all the best song nominations in like actually really well put together sound, like exactly how the songs should be appreciated, which is what I liked about the Grammys. It wasn't we weren't worrying about technical difficulties during a broadcast. You got the songs as they're supposed to be experienced.
Right.
And I liked that in the pre-show last night, but that wasn't part of the main show. In fact, like almost no music was part of the main show.
Yeah.
There was so much silence. So anyway, so it's for me, it's Grammys, Emmys, and then I'll do the Oscars here, and then the Globes. I really hated how the Globes did their broadcast.
Yeah, and like I don't know where to put the SAG Awards in there, because they weren't even an award show. They were just like a listing of awards, which was great.
That could have been an email.
Yeah, but like it was an hour of my night. I got to see some famous people. The Zoom groups looked fun because all the like male and female categories were all in the same like Zoom room. And it was in and out. But I actually really like the SAG Awards when they can be normal.
Yeah.
But they couldn't be normal, so all I want to know is who won.
Yeah, that's fair. But that one felt, that one didn't feel like a production.
I don't feel like that counts because it was just so different. But yeah, last night started strong.
Really loved the tracking shot with Regina King in a dress that looked more like a statue than a dress.
There is never wasted time with Regina King.
No, and it felt like, Steven Soderbergh is one of the producers of last night, and all of last night felt very Steven Soderbergh, especially the intro. Like we were walking through the Las Vegas casino in Ocean's 12. I liked the fonts. I liked the energy. I'm a Questlove fan, so I was excited to see Quest there, and all of that was great. First award of the night, I was on board for, and then Emerald Fennell started talking. And Regina King's opening was great, but a little bit awkward in terms of a production. I loved what she said about high heels for marching boots. But it was a little awkward. It's okay. The openings are a little bit awkward. I didn't miss a host shtick in that way.
No, I don't miss hosts.
I don't miss hosts. Sorry. But then when Emerald Fennell got up and I realized that they didn't have a plan for sound at all.
And they had it. They didn't have it in the Dolby Theater like they normally do. They had it in the Union Station, train station.
Which is an active train station, BT dubs.
A train station, so that they could have a social distancing and meet all the COVID protocols. Great. But and the aesthetic, like the room was stunning. I felt like I was
loved the
transported
visuals
back in time. But like this wasn't a surprise. You knew you were doing this?
Hypothetically, you are all professionals, and yet you couldn't control the echo?
You're giving awards for sound editing?
And it sounded like we were in a train station?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so there's that issue.
There's that issue.
I didn't hate letting the people talk for a long time.
No.
In principle, even if I didn't care for their speeches, I like, my God, it's like for most of these people, unless you're Meryl Streep, or Frances McDormand, it's your one shot. Like, Emerald Fennell wants to tell me about her crush on Zach Morris. That is perfectly fine. Like, cool. I didn't mind that. But then once they stopped talking, like Quest didn't know when to play.
Yeah. And it was just, there was so much. I saw a description of it online that called it wobbly, and I feel like that's
I like that
adjective. And yeah, you know, it's hard for me because I love that they highlight all the other wins, because you can't make a movie without sound editing and cinematography and makeup. Like those people don't have performances, and I know that, and those people need recognition, and I get that. But I don't think they did a good enough job of, like, they started out with some interesting categories, and then they did all the technical categories, like, together. And then they did the acting at the end. And I was like, mix it up a little bit.
Also, they violated one of the key principles of storytelling to me, which is show, don't tell. I didn't need to hear Laura Dern's feelings about people's performances, as lovely as Laura Dern is. Could you show me why they got here? Like, why are you, I loved hearing their origin stories. That's great. But like, I'd love to hear the sound editing they did.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do both possibly? Like, could we?
It was so weird. There weren't any clips except for the music.
And then at the end for Best Picture.
Yeah. And I was like, and for the acting nominations, but not for like cinematography and not for makeup. And I was
like, I always love the cinema. Like, there was a couple of years ago, or you know, at least maybe in Oscars of my past, where they would show you like the raw footage and then overlay like what the actual. I loved seeing that magic. Like,
yeah. So it was fits and starts, because I think, you know, one of the best bits of the whole thing was Harrison Ford reading the
Harrison Ford in his very loud paper.
Yeah, but reading the editing notes for Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And like to showcase what it is to produce a film and to edit a film. So like, and I know they wanted to lean into that more, and they had some weird instructions about like, they told all the presenters not to thank all their people. They told them to, but they did anyway, which good, because they should get to say what they want to say. They told them to be respectful and tell a story or something. And I was like, what? No, this is the highest achievement in this industry. And they have a whole basket full of folks that helped them get there. They should get to thank them.
Okay. Also, most of us who aren't even in the industry have been practicing our Academy Award speeches in the mirror since we were 4. So and one of Jay just mentioned, came into the chat and said that she agrees that overlay year was amazing. Great. I'm glad I'm not the only one that remembers that. Thank you, Jay. Jay is a Canadian viewer. And it was odd last night to not have the visual given. I didn't know most of the movies. That was the other thing.
Especially for thank you though. I will say, tangentially, thank you for calling them the international films and not foreign films.
Yes, thank you. Thank you
for that edit. But I don't know those films.
I don't know those films at all. Also, part of how we get paid is watching these kind of things. We haven't seen Sound of Metal yet. I couldn't find Five Bloods anywhere.
Yeah. Five Bloods is on Netflix, I think, or maybe it's not anymore.
Okay, well, when I originally looked for it, it wasn't, so maybe it is now, and I stand corrected. But you can see all the documentaries and most of the shorts, but the puzzle of finding the rest of these, it's more available than in the past, the random movies, but the big ones weren't. Minari is cost prohibitive for some folks in these times.
Oh, for sure.
And all of them are cost prohibitive for some folks in these times because you have to subscribe to 92 different streaming services these days to see everything.
Yeah.
And it's show me what the big deal is. I still don't know what The Father is about, except that it's about Anthony Hopkins and dementia, and I would be sad, so I'm not going to be watching it.
Yes, I believe that is what it is about. I don't know if I have any. Oh, yeah, the show notes while we're talking about show notes, and then we'll get into award notes. A show note that we both seemed to notice was that the Academy decided they were going to talk about diversity and they were going to talk about Black people.
And hopefully they watch my TED Talk soon to understand that they did not talk about diversity.
They did not talk about diversity. I think we had some references in speeches. Tyler Perry's speech talked about a lot of different folks.
We're going to put a pause in Tyler Perry's speech, and we're going to come back to it. Don't you worry.
We'll get to it. We haven't gotten to the awards part of the awards discussion. But all of the bits that they did, all of the things that they did to show, look at us, we're not Oscars so white, was to showcase Black folks. And specifically what we both want to talk about is that weird bit with that dude whom I don't know, where they did the like trivia.
Yeah.
And it seemed scripted because it was scripted.
I mean, not maybe like you don't just like Daniel Kaluuya had a microphone in his lap.
Well, they handed one to him.
Oh, I thought he just picked it up from his lap, and I was like, oh, come on.
No, they were passing them because they gave one to Andra Day as well. I don't think what Andra Day or Daniel Kaluuya said were scripted.
No, I think they were. No, Andra Day. Well, on another, they knew to mute Andra Day. Like,
maybe they just know Andra Day, or they knew to mute her. But like, it was a weird skit to show that like a lot of Black art has been ignored by the Academy. Like, y'all, we knew that.
And if that was how you were going to show that, okay, if there are people watching this show that don't know that a lot of Black art was ignored, which obviously there are a lot of people, including many members of the Academy, this isn't how I would have personally chosen to showcase it.
Put a reel together and say, we're sorry for being racist. Like, that would have been
like, hey, Purple Rain should have gotten a nomination. And you know who should have an Oscar? Diane Warren. Yeah. Like, which then playing off that bit with a Diane Warren song was a little bit too, guys. Like, so it's just
Donna Summer.
Donna Summer. Oh, but Dionne Warwick also does not have an Oscar. No, yeah. No, they played off one of the bits about diversity with a Dionne Warwick song, and I was like, she doesn't have an Oscar, pals.
I know. But the part that we did find out was scripted, was the part that felt super scripted, was when we like pantomimed with Glenn Close about her in-depth knowledge of Spike Lee and his legacy of hip-hop usage, which, y'all, I did not believe for a second Glenn Close had that knowledge.
And Twitter loved it. I was watching in real time. Dr. Aaron watched on delay. I was in real time. Twitter lost its mind.
Yeah.
Fine. For me, it was completely performative and weird in that we're going to have the old white lady twerk to show how woke she is.
Or like, yeah, but
like that was my most cynical take. Like, I'm sure Glenn Close is a lovely person,
human, but like, what I want the why. I want the why. Why was that? What did you think that was accomplishing? Why did you make that decision, producers? Because to me, it seemed cheap in a world in which, you know, we had I would just call a spade. We had the Derek Chauvin verdict last week, and within 48 hours, 3 more Black people were killed by police. So, like, what are we accomplishing with that? I'm not saying we can't be funny. I'm not saying we can't have jokes, but, like, I didn't find that particularly funny. I found it kind of insulting. So, were we doing it for the tweets?
And also, like, that's from a really long... From what I was reading on Twitter, like that's a very specific music genre too that like comes from DC and is really grounded in it, that if you are not from DC, it's completely reasonable that you would have never heard of it.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like you're racist and so you haven't heard of it. Like, no, you just don't live in DC.
Yeah.
And it's from what I've read. If that's incorrect, I mean, I'm 3 hours up the road and I'd never heard of that band, and I grew up around a lot of hip hop. So I don't know. It just felt, yeah, like Aaron said, what was the point? What were we doing? My other cynical take was, you know that Glenn Close isn't going to win the Oscar, and so you wanted to give her a moment. Okay. Okay.
I just think if we wanted to make some kind of social commentary, even in a joking format, which is helpful, like we can use humor to highlight social inequities. We do it all the time. It was badly done. Like, it just wasn't like, and not, and it's like not badly done, like disappointing, although I was disappointed, but just like, it just wasn't good.
Yeah, and the thing with too, if you know you're going to have performers that are going to curse, like, my thing is don't go to them, not because we shouldn't, like, they're going to get bleeped, it's going to be awkward, the audience at home is going to not know what was said. Like, it's always, you know, Andra Day is Billie Holiday. Like, you know she's going to say something really salty. Like,
and like,
it's just going to disrupt the broadcast because they're not going to let us hear what she has to say. They're going to beep her. And
yeah,
they did.
and that's, so then like, why are we doing that when it's just going to be silenced? And I had to, like, I think she might have said disgrace with the F word in front of it, but like, I don't know, I can't read lips, and it was a weird angle. So like, yeah,
and the whole room is like embarrassed or laughing or clapping or whatever, and like, that's,
we missed out on the joke.
This isn't for the people in the room. If it was for the people in the room, the cameras wouldn't be there.
We wouldn't broadcast it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's always like, you know, there are people that are going to do this. Either pay the FCC fines and say, screw it, we're going to do it, or don't pass the mic to those folks. Like,
yeah, because like Andra Day's what looked like righteous skepticism and wit was lost on all of us.
Yeah, because, and it well earned, because she's done, she's read the books, she's done the research, she played the woman. Like, I mean, I have a feeling I get the vibe of what she said.
Yeah.
But it was another weird, whenever they do that at award shows, it boggles my mind. Because I was just like, you know, they're going to get beeped. Like,
yeah.
You know, because somebody is clutching pearls over hearing the F word. And so, you know, they're going to get beeped. Like,
yeah. So in terms of show notes, I think the only other thing I thought was really confusing was that they put the major acting awards after Best Picture. And we'll get into the awards that were given for that in a minute. But I was so confused. I was like, did we miss them? Did I fast forward through something? Like, what happened?
I know all of Twitter was like, what's going on? Because I was like, I stopped paying attention at one point, but I didn't think I paid attention. I didn't think I missed that much.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I've been fast forwarding to catch up to the broadcast, but like,
but this is a good transition into the awards themselves, because the consensus I saw on Twitter and in the media today was that they made that decision because Chadwick Boseman was a shoo-in to win.
Yeah.
And so they would end with Chadwick Boseman's widow giving an incredible speech, because that's all this woman has done throughout award season. It would be poignant. It would be incredible. We would all cry. It would be a great, great ending. The issue is that he didn't win.
Jay, like, legit, I almost did too. Jay just said I actually Googled to see if I missed the Best Actor awards. So like, this was a badly kept secret in Hollywood that they decided to do this. And it really threw everything off. But yes, to the awards.
So we'll do backwards to front in that way.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I'll say the things I absolutely loved. Oh, let's go positive first.
Yeah.
Emerald Fennell's win for Promising Young Woman. Our video review of that drops tomorrow on this channel. Just in case you were wondering, spoiler alert, we agree wholeheartedly with that award win. That screenplay was unbeatable.
It doesn't drop tomorrow, though, just in case anyone's going to look for it. They drop on Fridays.
On Fridays, I'm sorry. It's going to drop this week. So, and we analyze that movie. It's one that I would tell everyone to see. So
Everyone
really,
needs to see it. Yeah.
really, really great. Loved that the makeup team from Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was the first Black team, which is incredible to me because people have won for Black makeup before. So
What?
loved the win for any acknowledgement of Minari. I also loved learning how to say Minari because I didn't know that before. We kept calling it Minari, so I was really glad.
I know, Minari. And I can't pronounce your woman's name to save my life. But I'm so glad she won for Best Supporting Actress.
She also told us that we've all been saying it wrong, which I loved that speech so much. She's like, I'll forgive you. I was like, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your graciousness. I'm not even going to try because I'll butcher it. But
in my soul, I just call her Minari Grandma.
Yeah, Grandma. She was the best.
She was the best. I loved that. We called that Daniel Kaluuya would win. Thank you very much. So, like everybody else,
that credit.
He deserved it. I'm still pissed that he wasn't lead actor. He should have been. And that's, again, my guess that the Academy was trying to put Chadwick Boseman as the winner of Best Actor because Daniel Kaluuya, in terms of the performance, probably would have beat out Chadwick Boseman as Best Actor. It's a showier performance, and Oscars love a showy performance. So I could see them making that argument somewhat in their heads, but Lakeith Stanfield deserved just as much praise for that movie as Daniel Kaluuya is getting. But Daniel Kaluuya's acceptance speech was a gem for all time.
He's just the best. And I'm not sure I would survive if I hung out with him on a night on the town, but I would have the absolute crack doing it.
Oh my God. I just want to let British people ramble in their acceptance speeches forever. Could you broadcast the BAFTAs over here, please? So we can
please.
Oh my God. Between him and Emerald Fennell, and then every time Olivia Colman has ever won.
Or been on screen ever.
Really.
I would just like a live screen note for next year's Oscars. If you could just have a bubble in the corner always on Olivia Colman's face.
Because she is so genuinely delighted for everybody that isn't her. It is so lovely.
It's the best ever. She has the best facial reactions. So that's a pro tip if you want to increase viewership. Just show more Olivia Colman.
Other awards that you particularly loved, anything?
I loved the win for John Baptiste for Soul.
Yes,
I love John Baptiste. And the other two dudes, Trent Reznor was one of them, and I can't remember the third. But I loved John Baptiste's speech.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just a fantastic human. I haven't seen Soul yet, but I want to see it, so I'm glad that it won. That was pretty much a shoo-in, I think, in that category. I didn't know a lot of the other short films and documentaries, but I look forward to exploring those. I was really excited for Emerald Fennell. That was fantastic. And yeah, we haven't seen Nomadland. We should say that yet as we get into the big three final awards. I was excited for Claire Zhao. She was the first woman of color to win, the first Asian woman to win Best Director, the
second woman overall,
the second woman ever. So that was a big historic win. I think Daniel Kaluuya was the first Black Briton to win in a major acting category or something. He accumulated another first with that win. And then they go so far to be look how diverse we are in terms of Blackness and whiteness. Oh, Crip Camp. We have to talk about Crip Camp before we get into it not winning. Y'all, we're upset about it.
Okay. I don't know how to. Okay. So there are lots of nature documentaries.
So many.
I don't want to say that this person's relationship with the octopus was terrible or whatever. I'm not going to see this movie, by the way. There's just on no planet am I going to watch the octopus movie.
It's not for me.
It's not for me. My nature documentaries go the David Attenborough route. And if David Attenborough is not telling me about the planet, I'm just not particularly interested. I am also just as a human significantly more interested in learning about humanity than I am about humanity's interaction with animals, which I know is among some of our friends a controversial opinion. But that's fine. I just don't care about animals as much as I care about humans. I'm so sorry.
You do you.
What I did notice, however, is that we weren't alone in that opinion on the internets. That there was a lot of points being made that this was the first year ever in the Academy Awards history that there was a ramp up to the stage instead of just stairs in case Crip Camp won.
Ever.
93 years. We've had the ADA since the 90s.
Since 1990.
Which, you know who taught me that? Crip Camp. And then in the same broadcast, we also have an Academy Award nominee for Best Picture regarding the deaf community. And they have Marlee Matlin presenting, which Marlee Matlin should present all the time. But Marlee Matlin speaks with her hands. And while she was speaking, they cut the camera away so that it was just her translator speaking instead of Marlee Matlin.
Yeah. Yeah. That was respectful of the deaf community and Marlee Matlin as a human being. Super respectful. Yeah. So I don't give a fig about that octopus movie.
One of my favorite film critics, the hashtag all night was said it was literally anything but the Squid movie. Like literally, I would have been, Sebastian Stan has been talking a lot on his Instagram and in other places about how much he was pulling for the Romanian movie, because as a Romanian national, that's an incredibly important story that really helped him reconnect with his Romanian roots and got him involved in Romanian activism. Would have been thrilled to death if that won. The Mole Agent was actually the favorite, and that isn't a story that I'm particularly interested in, but it wouldn't have been upsetting to me that it won. There seemed to be very, very universal in my bubble, admittedly, but my bubble is a lot of film critics. I follow a lot of them on Twitter, and a lot of them on Instagram. No one understands why this won.
Yeah, it just seems like one of those weird Academy choices again. And I'm not saying things should win to tick a diversity box. I'm not saying that at all. But what does it say about the Academy that
you have 4 documentaries about corruption in human systems,
and what it
and one about octopuses,
what it means to be human, and what it means to live your life with empathy and understanding and sharing stories that we have not heretofore engaged with.
I think that's
the power of documentaries, right? Yep. Is to shine a light on these stories that we haven't given art time to, really. And to look at that, all of those offerings, not just Crip Camp, I haven't seen the other ones, but to look at all of those offerings and go, you know what? The octopus story. No disrespect to those filmmakers and the story that they wanted to tell, but y'all, that was a big miss. Big fat miss.
Because also we've had those stories before, maybe not about octopus, but we've had a lot of stories about humans and animals.
So many.
And there's a lot of, I was really, really thrilled that a foreign film was nominated in documentary. I was really, really thrilled that we got a Romanian corruption scandal, because an important part of being a global citizen is remembering that while America is often not the best, nowhere is. And so we have to be able to live without exceptionalism anywhere in our scales.
Anywhere. Yeah, humans are humans.
The Academy will always be the Academy on a level. And I think we saw some really beautiful things of what happens when you open up the voting this year. And that's really, really great. But they will also always serve themselves. So the humanitarian award to the nursing home that they fund.
Yeah, I didn't even listen to that, really.
Was a miss.
Patting themselves on the back.
And both them and the Emmys are really into the deification of Tyler Perry right now, which is a real bold choice, especially considering that Tyler Perry is on the SAG-AFTRA Do Not Work list. So I find it fascinating that they want that the Academy would continue to honor him this way.
What does that mean? He's on the...
SAG-AFTRA has told its its members not to work with him because he will not pay fair union prices for labor.
Huh. That doesn't fit with what they told me at all yesterday.
So he's been sued a couple times for television shows in particular, in firing Black union writers and hiring white non-union writers.
Okay.
So it's just a really interesting for both of those academies to throw their weight behind somebody. Like Scott Rudin isn't even on the do not work list yet, but Tyler Perry is.
Huh.
And we're deifying him in a very specific way. I also have a lot of questions over why we never talk about how he made his money. Because Madea is a problem in terms of the cultural narrative that Madea propagated.
Very successful.
It is a intentional edit to me that no one talks about that studio is the house that Madea built.
Yeah.
And so by completely decentering how he made that money feels a lot to me like when we decenter how Vanderbilt made his money and we decenter how William Randolph Hearst made his money. It just that the Emmys one didn't smack as hard to me as last night was like Tyler Perry is our new god. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm sure he's doing wonderful things, but like he's also a human. Like, can we hold these things in balance?
He's also a human, yeah. And like, I didn't, he has every right to say what he wants to say and believe what he wants to believe. I didn't truck with his speech
at all. It was far too simplistic. It was far too pandering to me. It demonstrated a complete lack of understanding of how the world currently works instead of how the world worked when he was little and his mom was growing up.
And like, there's something to be said for wanting to change that or believing in a better way. But I just like, I don't know. I saw a tweet, I think that you either retweeted or liked that was talking about kind of the sociology of it. And I think
Christina Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bree Newsom, excuse me. It was Bree Newsom.
For me, I was like, this is why people hate is a really complicated sociological, anthropological construct. And to say that like, don't hate people, have a nice night.
Something to say, don't hate police officers right now.
That was a thing to say.
That was a choice category to bring up. It was a choice category to bring up in a speech. Like we often say here at Abbey Research, we're trying to help people live more cohesively and not in a Hallmark card way.
Yeah.
And what Tyler Perry did was stand up and read a Hallmark card.
Yeah. And it felt like it was papering over a lot of big old cracks, like Grand Canyon size cracks.
Yeah. And what Bree Newsom said for anybody, by the way, is that just because you live in a society does not mean you are a sociologist. And that's it. That's what it is. We can get cultural commentary from a lot of people. Obviously, Tyler Perry is doing a lot of good in Atlanta. I mean, even if nothing else, he should have gotten the humanitarian award for letting Meghan Markle sleep on his couch. But like, he's doing a lot of really, really good. I am never okay with the deification of a human being, ever.
Yeah.
Like as a rule. So I'm always going to be skeptical. I didn't love it when they did it to Ellen DeGeneres. I didn't love it. Like this isn't an anti-Tyler Perry thing, even though I think I've been on the record for most of my life that I hate the Madea movies. I swear this isn't an anti-Tyler Perry thing. I hate deification of humans. That is something I hate. I actively am against it. But what bothers me even more is when people take that kind of platform that they've been given and then pretend, which is how he did in the way that he spoke and he came across to me, as if you follow my particular recipe, everything would be fine. If all of the rest of you were me, we wouldn't be here. And that's A, a lie, B, way too simple, and C, part of how we got here.
Yeah, and like, this is a rant for another day, but one of the things you and I have been talking about a lot offline is the lack of understanding when we use phrases like systemic racism to understand really what systemic means, what it
Yeah.
means for something to be systemic.
Yeah.
In an idea, I think we understand like systemic diseases, sort of, although some things that have happened during this COVID might not indicate that. But to me, there was this lack of recognition of the system behind that has held up a country built on hate.
And the thing is, too, like, this is the same thing as the Kylie Jenner Pepsi ad. Like, well, if you just hand a Pepsi to a cop, it'll all be different. Like,
it'll all be okay.
It'll all be okay.
And like, I don't, yeah, and like, he's allowed to his own life philosophy, and like, if that's what gets you to be a kinder, gentler human, cool. But like, yeah, saying it like we should all follow along, like there's only, like we should, if we follow along with him, like that'll be great and he'll work with us. And I'm like, but there's different ways to see the world, and there's different ways to impact on
people. And it was interesting. A lot of the Black people and Black journalists I follow on Twitter were like, watch, like, whoever retweets this as positive, look at their socioeconomic status. Like, all the rich Black folk will be on board with this. All of the middle class and poor Black folk won't be. And there's he doesn't, by talking about how poor his mother was, he tries to absolve himself from the class conversation, but he can't absolve himself from the class conversation. That narrative about the shoes is not nearly as endearing as he thinks it is. And also, again, you don't understand systemic homelessness, and you don't understand, like, there's a lot of reasons a lot of experts say not to give out direct aid. And it's not because they're crass. It's because there are systems. Like,
yeah, it was an oversimplification of what is a very, very complicated society.
Yeah, and it would have been a lot easier if he just said, like, I didn't get here alone.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody that helped me.
I hope I continue to pay it forward. If he had been the Tom Hanks model of Lifetime Achievement Awards rather than the Ellen DeGeneres one, and he leaned into the one I don't care for.
Yes. Speaking of Lifetime Achievement Awards, did you know Anthony Hopkins has already received the Cecil B. DeMille Award for Lifetime Achievement?
Yes, I did know that. And yet we needed to reward him again instead of Chadwick Boseman, who, because the world is terrible, will never get another chance to tell us a story.
Will never be nominated for anything ever again, because Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was the last piece of art that he produced before he died from colon cancer. Yeah, that was, and to learn, so back to our show critique, to learn that the reason that they moved the actors last was so that they could have this glorious ratings boom moment when Chadwick Boseman was posthumously crowned Best Actor. And to have it go to Tony Hopkins, who's already won, who's been nominated 5 times. And I'm not saying he's not great in The Father, but like...
Sure he is. He's great in like the Grinch movie. So like, of course he's great in The Father.
He's great in Breathing. He's one of the phenomenal actors of our time. But we talk about in our Oscar coverage on our channel that movies have impact because, and awards have impact because they put money behind projects.
Yep.
They influence what money goes to what projects, who gets jobs, what stories we get to tell. And to miss this opportunity to recognize, and I have seen Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and I defy anyone to tell me that there was a better performance out there. He was transcendent in that role.
Yeah.
You could not take your eyes from him that entire movie.
I mean, like, he outshone Viola Davis, which no one else has been able to do ever.
That's not like possible, but it was. And to take that and go, you know what? It really should go to Tony Hopkins again. To me is just, oh, hey, Taylor, what's up, girl? The optics of awarding a Lifetime Achievement Award. Yeah. And he got the Lifetime Achievement Award, we should say, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But to give this show and all of its advertisers, for anyone who wasn't watching live or was watching through methods on the internet, every single advertiser that was there last night really wanted you to know that they liked Black people. I mean, really wanted you. The only advertiser to my memory that talked about diversity that wasn't specifically Black and white diversity was Verizon.
Yeah.
Everybody, and Google didn't, in a way too, but like Procter and Gamble really wanted you to know that they liked Black joy. Everybody else really wanted you to know that they liked Black joy. And then we give it to Tony Hopkins. And I mean, now, then again, somebody said, like, could you imagine if it had been Gary Oldman for Mank, the most white movie of all white movies? Like, could you have imagined? So thankfully, it wasn't that. Mank makes me grumpy as a film. So
a lot of reasons. But even like, and to have like Steven Yeun was nominated for Minari, and the first Asian man nominated in that category. Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal is the first Muslim man nominated in that category. And so, like,
you had 3 options to not be yourselves.
You had 3 options to not lean into awarding a fantastic actor
who had already been awarded, who
has already been recognized, and is the peak of privilege in this industry. Like, Tony Hopkins can tell any story he wants to tell
forever. And am I glad that he's talking about dementia? For sure, because yes, for sure.
Love it. But like, yeah, in what world do you not give it to Chad Boseman? And I'm not saying that because he died. I'm saying it because it was the best performance of the year.
I'm saying it because if Chadwick Boseman hadn't died, he would have to build a home for his trophies. Is how good he already was, and he was just getting started.
He was just getting started. He was, what, 43 something?
I mean, like, he was having, we had legitimate conversations in film circles about him getting nominated for playing T'Challa.
Yeah.
And people were saying Black Panther 2 was going to be the time that he was the first person to be nominated for playing a superhero. One of the reasons that Robert Downey Jr. said he didn't want to get nominated as Iron Man was that there was somebody better that needed that honor. And I will bet you all of my bank account that he was talking about Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah. And speaking of actors who've already been recognized, let's have a hot minute for our dear friend Frances McDormand winning Best Actor, Best Actress.
I mean, like, God love her. She's always herself. That speech was weird, and she is, and I love it. But like,
I love Frances McDormand. I do not want her to change one iota. I think she's a fantastic actress. But
I think she's telling very specific stories, and that's great. And she can tell those very specific stories that no one else can tell. Awesome.
How it doesn't go to Andra Day,
I will never know. I will
never understand.
Because the only answer to me, if that is the case, is systemic racism. So in terms of talent and transcendency and performance, the only answer is they didn't want to reward somebody for playing Billie Holiday.
Or, like, for me,
which they didn't want to reward Diana Ross for doing it either. So
I think for me, it shows how, because I don't necessarily think it was because they didn't want to, like, an anti-Billie Holiday. In a way that I think the way the Academy sees value and sees impact is so much in white storytelling.
Okay.
I'm not sure they can even see it. I think what they see as valuable is, and like, full recognition, an Asian woman directed and produced Nomadland, but it is a story fundamentally centering white folks. I haven't seen it yet, but like, there are not a lot of people of color in the.
If it's not centering a white lady, then they have done a terrible job showing us clips.
Yeah. And like, you know, it's a film, to my understanding, that showcases nomadic lifestyle in the States and like gig workers, the precariousness of gig working, which are uniquely white lanes for a lot of reasons in the system. And I think they can't even see that that's what they see as a valuable story over showcasing what the United States government did to Billie Holiday for the audacity to sing about lynching, or the beauty of August Wilson's storytelling of Black lives. Like,
and for anyone who's like, but they awarded Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
we get the gender in here. We can talk about Fred Hampton easier than we can talk about Billie Holiday, than we can talk about Ma Rainey. Yeah. We can talk about Black men easier than we can talk about Black women in the structure of whiteness.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's where we privilege the maleness of it, regardless of, I wouldn't say regardless of race, but like, to me, it is telling. And supporting roles. I think it's easier for the Academy to give awards to folks of color for supporting roles. And I'm just going to call a spade here. Like, we talk about systemic racism, to go back to our larger point. The way the Academy functions is built within, to work within and to function within that system. And so if we don't recognize that, and if the Academy doesn't recognize that, they're only going to do performative diversity, which is what they showed us last night.
Which is what they showed us last night. And they showed us that with everything that they did.
Yeah.
On some up notes, really looking forward to Questlove's documentary. People that have seen it at Sundance say it's incredible. Yeah. Everyone who I trust that has seen In the Heights says that my level of virality over the excitement of that is justified.
Very exciting.
I don't believe we needed a remake of West Side Story, but this one looks perfectly serviceable and I'll enjoy it. Am I okay that the only 3 previews we got were for stories about people of color and or musicals? You bet I am.
100%.
And because that's kind of the lane I'm here for now. And of all the things that they did last night that after COVID I would keep, literally it is letting the people talk.
Yeah, I appreciated that very, very much, because even with the SAG Awards, I think they or the Golden Globes, I can't remember, they played people off. And I was like, for real? It's the COVID.
Like, I can check Twitter during this time. You don't need to have my attention 100% of the time. You're not going to.
And I'm sorry you ran over, but you know what you can take out? The weird
bits
with trivia, because I really just want to see the awards and hear people's stories.
That's really it. You can also show me clips instead of telling me how the presenters feel about the performances, because I don't care.
I'm sure. Sorry. I mean, Laura Dern, by all accounts, is a fantastic human. She said really nice things. So did Reese Witherspoon. So did a lot of people. I don't care.
Also, though, Joaquin Phoenix not doing the assignment is just about the most Joaquin Phoenix thing that could have ever happened. I just loved that. I loved that people spoke in their indigenous languages frequently throughout the night. Loved that. Loved that we didn't get subtitles. Loved that we got translators instead. Loved that. There was some really, really lovely pockets, and then some really terrible potholes.
It was like sprinkles of wonder. And your man, and I can't remember his name, who won
yes, for Parasite, which is an incredible
Parasite.
Everyone needs to see.
Yeah, and he won for Parasite. Yeah, I absolutely loved that they didn't make him speak in English, and they just let him, because a lot of people speak English all over the world, but a lot of people speak way more other languages, including Mandarin.
And we'd like to have a moment as well for the director of Another Round, the Danish film that won Best International Film. He shared in the speech last night that his daughter died tragically very early into filming, and that they dedicated the entire performance, the entire movie, to her. And I am really glad for his opportunity as a father to say that to an international audience, and to express grief through joy in a way that isn't often heard. So really appreciated that moment. Another thing that would not have happened if they played people off. So for me, that'll be one of the things you should never give people the space to tell the story.
Yeah.
And they're storytellers. That's what we're awarding them for. So give them space to tell that. I really appreciated it. And it was a great exercise in reminding me that there are hundreds of millions of people in this industry that I will never, ever know the name of. Mm-hmm. And I want to be able to thank them for their talent and their sacrifice in changing my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great way to say it. There were sprinkles of things that I really liked, but overall, I think we can say that, we've been having this Oscars So White conversation specifically for 4 years? I think it was 2017, 2016 when we first started.
I have lost track.
Years. Possibly. We've been having it for years. And what last night showed me was overall, the Academy still has not learned that lesson.
So that tells me we still got to go back to who votes.
So I would like to look at the Academy and who votes, and I would like to encourage them, because I know they watch our channel and they're watching our live video.
Yeah, hi everyone.
To really consider what diversity means, that it's more than just race and it's more than just gender. It's a whole host of wonderful things that make up the rainbow spectrum of humanity. So consider giving some homage to that in the future, please and thank you.
And slow down the in memoriam segment in the future. Thanks so much.
Oh man, I had whiplash and those poor humans got like half a second. Not even. That was terrible.
That is all for this week's edition of The Good Doctors Live. We went a little longer than normal, but the Oscars are always good food for fodder. However you're watching this on the replay, whenever you're watching this, we definitely still respond to comments and chat. So make sure to tell us what you thought about any of the points that we made. Yep. And if you have some corrections, we'd love to hear, because we, again, as we always say, talk to each other about this all the time. We turn the camera on for y'all. So let us know what's going on. Next week, the current plan is to do what we were going to do this week, which is talk about self-care in a world on fire, and share some of our tips and tricks and maybe hear some from you. But who knows what the world will have in store, so you'll have to double check with us next week. Maybe James Charles will continue to be himself. I don't know. I can talk about Gabby Hanna for a hot minute if anybody wants me to. So no matter what, we will be here, and it will be back to 11 a.m. next Monday. So we will see you then.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.